Hey everybody, welcome to Paint Games and Cardboard, and in today's Deck Tech, we are going to be covering Oloro, Ageless Ascetic. This was the third or fourth deck that I built after coming back to Commander, and ended up picking up this Commander deck, his deck, by trading off some Marvel Crisis Protocol models. Obviously I used to do more MCP stuff here on the channel and kind of got out of it, so went ahead and traded some of those for some Magic cards. And this is arguably my most expensive deck, so if you do not want to copy this deck, I do not blame you. However, it is a pretty, I'd say mid-power. It's not high power in any way. It's a combo deck, which you'll kind of see. But we definitely build around his ability to gain 2 life every single turn. So, yeah, let's get on into this awesome guy.
Oloro, so let's go ahead and cover what he does. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card and each opponent loses life. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if Oloro, Ageless Ascetic is in the command zone, you gain 2 life. So this was Eminence before Eminence was a thing. He's the very first Eminence commander. I don't feel like he's like overpowered or anything. Like, Dragons kind of feel bad sometimes, and Edgar Markov, but still really powerful, right? We start out the game pretty much at 42 life, and so this deck was built in mind that we will generally have more life than the rest of the table, so let's use it as a resource. So let's start out with the instants and sorceries, and as we go, I'm going to pull out combo pieces just so that way if people are not familiar with certain combos, I can explain them. Again, this is basically a control stax deck that you try to win through combos. Very, very rarely are you going to have enough bodies on board to kill somebody outright. I mean, there are some super powerful cards in here, but generally we're trying to win through a combo in some way, shape, or form. So starting out with Path to Exile, needed a few pieces of removal. We got a Cyclonic Rift to pick up everybody's stuff whenever they're being very scary. Limdo's Vault, so this is an incredibly powerful card. Highly recommend it in any Dimir deck. This can cost you a lot of life, but I'm going to do the TLDR of this card. So basically you look at the top 5 cards of your library, you can put them back in any order. If you don't like those cards, you can pay a life, put those 5 on the bottom of your library, and do it again. And you can do this as many times as you want. Us being a combo deck, this is a perfect way to find, go into our combo pieces or figure out where they're at in the deck, and then make sure they're on top. Enlightened Tutor, again, another thing, because a lot of our combos in here are artifacts or enchantments, so we gotta go find them. Vamp Tutor, same thing. Heliod's Intervention, I really like this card because it gets to destroy X target artifacts or enchantments, or you can gain twice X life. So we have stuff in here that does care about life totals. So just a way to instant speed, gain a bunch of life when you're holding up a bunch of mana. One thing I will note is that you'll notice, I'm on my last one, which is a Sword's Plowshare, there are no counters in this deck. I pulled a lot of the counters out of here. It used to have a lot of counters because I found that if I got into a counter battle, I would generally lose. And I'm not generally trying to stop other people from winning the game. I am just trying to win the game. Now, I did find in my last game that I really missed the counters because somebody was pretty much holding up an entire hand of counters the entire game, waiting for me to play cards. And so I was trying to play strategically, but I wasn't able to get enough mana out. So I do kind of miss the counters, but I guess my game plan worked because it was a 3 versus 1 pretty much the entire game. So I ended up killing myself, which was quite funny. Next, we'll go ahead and cover the sorceries. And so starting out here, Teferi's Protection. This is my real one. You'll notice in a lot of videos I have proxy. Bought a Japanese one, and I really like it. Full art Japanese. Pretty neat, but everybody knows what Teferi's Protection is. We're going to go ahead and phase out and usually try to save our board. That's the main reason I have it in this deck. Reanimates because, people kill each other's stuff, and I have a lot of life, so I might as well take their stuff from them. Approach of the Second Sun. So this is one of my win cons in the deck. If the spell is cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. So, and otherwise you gain 7 life and put the 7th from the top of your deck. So this goes really good with that Limdol's Vault I showed earlier. If I can cast this and have Limdol's in my hand, I can guaranteed win the game next turn if nobody has a counter. So that is a pseudo combo in this deck, but really love this card, and it's a win con. And if anything, I gain 7 life, 7 mana for 7 life. Toxic Deluge, because again, I don't have a wide board generally in this deck, but this is a really good way to keep other players honest. Supreme Verdict, same deal. Fumigate, same deal. Demonic Tutor, really good to go ahead and find out a bunch of combo pieces, because again, this is a combo deck, so you want to find things. And Feed the Swarm. So this is my targeted enchantment removal in the deck. That's usually what I'm going to use this for, is destroy some sort of pesky enchantment, or maybe it's somebody's win con. But really good just to have. And last but not least, another win con card, Command the Dread Horde. And I will read this card because a lot of people don't know what it does. Choose any number of target creature and or planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dread Horde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them on the battlefield under your control. Yeah, so pretty much I can get every creature in the in everybody's graveyards onto my field for 6 mana. Being as once we get into the creatures and things, you're going to notice a theme here. It's not uncommon for me to have 70 plus life. And to be able to turn that into just a board full of creatures, if I think I can win, is always a big thing. This is also a great way to get some of the win cons back from my graveyard if people have picked them off earlier in the game. So really love this card. Highly recommend, and it's really cheap to pick up, but it's another win con in this deck. Next, let's go over the artifacts. So in the artifacts, I don't have too many win con cards. I think there's like 2 of them in here, but I'll pull them out because they are combo pieces. So starting out with Chrome Mox. Yeah, beautiful Chrome Mox. So being as Oloro is really slow, and a lot of the things in this deck are very expensive, this deck has all of the fast mana. And you will notice in the Mox field profile, so I would say this is probably like an 8. A lot of people would probably argue this is a 9. The reason I would say it's not a 9, I am very easy to pick off if people pick off certain pieces, so I can get out things really quick. It's just whether or not I have the other half of a combo or something in my hand. So I've never actually won a game faster than like turn 5 or 6 with this deck. So because usually I can't have all of the cards all at once, right? So if I'm playing fast mana, it means I'm trying to get Oloro out. That way I can start drawing more cards. That's generally how it works. So we got Chrome Mox, we've got Soul Ring. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. We got the Mana Vault. So I'm just pulling out all the fast mana. Talisman, Arcane Signet, Mana Crypt. This is my real one. And yeah, so these are all of my fast mana sources. I used to have a few more rocks in here. I pulled them out. Sole reason because I wanted to add more 1-drops to the deck. I found that just having fast mana and playing something out, it made me look more threatening than I actually was half the time, and so I would get picked off even earlier, and I didn't want that. So, and also again, I have a lot of life, so Mana Crypt and Mana Vault aren't that big of a deal for me. Even if both of these are going off, it pretty much offsets Oloro most of the time. So, so really strong cards. Getting fast mana is always really good, and in this deck, you will need it because you will notice a very high CMC in this deck. Now, starting into some combo pieces, we got Ageless Citadel. So this card, you look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library if you cast this spell. Pay life instead of mana for its converted mana cost. So really strong in this deck because we're going to have a lot of life, and then it's also a combo piece. So I'll put this over here so that way as we go through the combos I can show you guys the pieces. We got Mind Crank, another combo piece. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So this is another combo piece, which we'll cover here in a minute. Aetherflux Reservoir, so this is part of the Ageless Citadel combo. Whenever you cast this spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and you can pay 50 life to just basically instant eliminate somebody. We've got an Esper Sentinel, because card draw is actually pretty hard in this deck, so we got an Esper Sentinel. And then Sensei's Divining Top. This is the last piece of this combo, so I'll put it over there. And if you don't know what it does, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, and then put them back in any order. So, let's cover this combo real quick, and then I can put these cards to the side. So with Ageless Citadel out, and if you can get Aetherflux Reservoir out, the way this works is as long as Sensei's Divining Top is on the field, you can go ahead, tap this, draw a card, put it on top, right? then you can pay 1 life with Bolas' Citadel to play it off the top of your library, thereby gaining you 1 life. While Aetherflux Reservoir, this escalates. So the more you cast spells, the more life you gain. So the next time I do it, I gain 2 life. Next time I do it, 3 life, right? And as you can see, at this point, I can draw my entire deck if I want to, and then I can use all of that life with Aetherflux Reservoir to just start picking off players. And yeah, that's pretty much the combo right here. Generally speaking, Bolas' Citadel is the one card I try to get on the field because I have a lot of life and I want to start playing my deck. So, and Sensei's is really good too because if anything, it allows me to go ahead and try to find combo pieces in the deck because there is a lot of combos. So here, I will just leave these this way so that way everybody can kind of see the number of combos in this deck when we get there. Next, I have the Book of Exalted Deeds. This is another combo piece. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life, create a 3/3 Flying Angel, which is really, really awesome. And then the big thing for this, pay 3 white, tap, exile the Book of Exalted Deeds, put an enlightened counter on target angel. It gains, you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Activate only as a sorcery. So I will show the other half of this combo here in a minute. So I'm going to put this over here. And then last but not least, we have the One Ring. One Ring is just really strong, and when you have a lot of life, granted, this is the thing that killed me the last game I played this deck, but really, really, really good card in this deck. Now let's go on to the enchantments, because we have even more combos. So like I said, this is a very combo-centric deck. A lot of people would argue that that probably slows it down, because like I'm always trying to find combo pieces, but to me it's like I'm always trying to find the other half of a combo, because I probably have half of one somewhere in my hand. Some of these I've never even gotten off. I just have them in the deck as like a threat, and like they're like, oh crap, you know, that card came out. So first we have Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. You know, great with Oloro, and obviously I'm going to have the other half of this combo, which is Exquisite Blood, which is whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So this creates an infinite loop between these two where it just bounces back and forth and you kill the entire table. So yet another combo right there. Next, we have my favorite card, probably in the entire deck. This has probably kept me in the game more often than not. Luminarch Ascension, and I believe this card's gone up in price. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, if you didn't lose life this turn, you put a quest counter on Luminarch Ascension. So as long as they're not hitting you, you'll get counters on here. So if you can get this out like turn 2, generally speaking, you can get the counters on it pretty fast. And then you can pay 1 and a white. This is at instant speed, by the way. Put a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying on the battlefield. Activate only if Luminarch Ascension has 4 more quest counters on it. So, great card. Love this card. This generally keeps me in the game. Or if anything, I can create a threatening board state. So I love to create blockers at instant speed, holding up like interaction. You know, my kill spells, and then just making a bunch of angels so that way I can block and keep people from hitting me. So, which is awesome. Next, we have another, so this is the other half of the Mindcrank combo, so this is Bloodchief Ascension. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you put a quest counter on Bloodchief Ascension. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Bloodchief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, you gain 2 life. So, with these 2 out, what'll happen is once any card hits somebody's library, they lose 2 life, you gain 2 life, and then they're going to have to mill 2 more cards, thereby losing 4 more life, milling 4 more cards, so on and so forth. So this right here is an infinite loop between these 2. So I love it because Bloodchief Ascension benefits me for people hitting each other, and then Luminarch Ascension benefits me for people not hitting me. So I'm always gaining a counter on something if I can get all of these things out. So this is yet another combo. So let's put that over here. We have Blind Obedience. I think everybody knows what this card does. It's great for life gain, and it's great to keep people from not hitting you. So that way, you know, your Luminarch Ascension goes off. Authority of the Consuls. Pretty much another version of Blind Obedience that costs 1. Great card. Of course, I have Heuristic Study. You have to have Heuristic Study in any Esper deck along with Mystic Remora because I need to draw some cards. We've got Propaganda to stop people from hitting me. I did used to have both this and, what's the other one? Ghostly Prison in the deck, but I took Ghostly Prison out because I found it was like too much, you know. But at least having Propaganda in the deck stops people from hitting me. And then we have Black Market Connections, because, again, I love to draw cards, and you need to draw into your combos to win the game. So, and this also is great because I can use all that life that I'm gaining for additional cards, additional mana, and creating some more blockers, which is always a great, great, great thing. Also, the Shapeshifter tokens have Changeling, or, Changeling, if you had to, you know, pop the bulk of Exalted Deeds to stop yourself from, you know, losing the game on a turn. Alrighty, so let's go through the lands real quick, because the lands is where the other half of this combo are. And so I'm just going to quickly go through and just kind of highlight some important lands. So Hall of Heliod's Generosity, this deck really needs this because my combo pieces constantly get picked off, and obviously a lot of them are enchantments, so the ability to put them back on my library is very key. So the other half of this combo I'll explain here in a second, which is Mutavault. And then I think that's about it. Field of the Dead is really good in this deck. Maze of Ith. Love Maze of Ith in this deck, because a lot of Voltron players out there, you know. So, yep. Alright, let's explain this combo. So, yet another combo, so the Book of Exalted Deeds. So, with Mutavault on the field, it has a 1 mana ability down here at the bottom, and this was a combo, I believe, in Modern that a lot of people were playing. But you can pay 1, and this becomes a 2/2 creature with all creature types until the end of turn. It's still a land, right? So I pay 1, this turns into now a Angel, and then if I can pay the 3 here and sacrifice this, then this will get the counter on it. What happens is if nobody can remove it while it's a creature, it will then become a land, and now I have a land that says I cannot lose the game, and you cannot win the game. Funky combo, right? But I've never actually gotten this off. Every time I have the Book of Exalted Deeds out, it's generally I'm making the Angels. And so this is actually just a strong-ass card in this deck, even if I don't ever get the combo off. And last but not least, probably my favorite part of the deck. So, you know, winning through combos is fun, but I am a very creature-heavy person. I love creatures. And so some of the creatures in this deck are really cool, and I love playing with them. So let's start out with Combo, Console of Allocation. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and gains 2 life. We're gaining life. That's all I care about on this card, really. Walking Ballista. So this is part of a combo that I think everybody should be aware of, but we'll explain the combo here with Heliod's Sun Crown. So Heliod's great because, you know, if anything, he's putting 1/1 counters on my stuff as I gain life, right? But the big thing here is that if Walking Ballista's on the field and you can get Heliod on the field, if you spend the 1 white and 1 colorless to give a creature lifelink, so Walking Ballista, anytime you would gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on a creature. Walking Ballista pings people by removing a counter to do 1 damage. So as long as this has 2 counters on it, what happens is you remove a counter while it has lifelink, ping somebody. This gets a counter back because it had lifelink, right? And then you can rinse repeat, and you can ping the whole table, right? 2-piece combo. This is always like one of my fetch combos. I can get Heliod on the field pretty easily, and he's hard to interact with because he's usually an enchantment that's indestructible. But it's always the Walking Ballista that's the hard part to get on the field, because he is very easy to remove in response to him coming into play or whatever. So that is yet another combo. Next, we have Linvala, Keeper of Silence. Prevents activated abilities from my opponent's creatures, so, you know, stops combos and things like that. We've got a Soul Warden to gain additional life. Love gaining life. Crested Sunmare. This is like probably one of my favorite life gain creatures, so if you've never read this guy, other horses you control have Undestructible. That's not the big thing. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, so at all, you create a 5/5 white horse creature token. So this pretty much reads as, every turn you get a 5/5 indestructible horse. That's actually really cool, so I love this card. Of course, I had to have an Orcish Bowmasters in this deck. I actually use this primarily as a piece of removal in this deck, because I need to remove things that are problematic. Then Resplendent Angel. So this thing dropped, plummeted it. Sorry, there's like, I don't know, smudge on these sleeves. So Resplendent Angel, this dropped dramatically in price when they reprinted it, so I finally picked one up. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 5 or more life, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. So gaining 5 life is pretty easy in this deck, because if I have just Oloro out in something like a Soul Warden, it's very, very high chance that I can gain 5 life on the turn. So, you know, making angels. Now, granted, I have yet to actually get this on the field and do anything with it, so I don't know if she'll stay in the deck. I might eventually remove her for any new pieces that come out in future sets. But, so I would argue she's probably one of the weaker links in this deck. And then we have the new Sorin of House Markov. This card is a menace in this deck. So, came out in MH3, lifelink, and at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile it and return it transformed. So, literally, if I play this card, it's probably going to transform on that turn, and if anything, it's another Extor trigger. But I love him because he's a piece of removal on his Planeswalker side, and I've found that I will literally just keep removing things, because I'm gaining at least 2 life every turn. So, really, really strong card in this deck. Love it. Definitely a keeper. Karlov of the Ghost Council, so this is the original one, but you know, he got reprinted and he's much cheaper now than he used to be. But whenever you gain life, put 2/1/1 counters on him. So he gets huge fast, but if you pay a Orzhov, so black and white, remove 6 1/1 counters from him, exile target creature. And you can do this at instant speed. So this is usually my way to check problematic creatures like Atali or Indestructibles, you know, any of the Eldrazi Titans, stuff like that. So really, really, really love this card. Angel of Vitality. So if I can get this out turn 1 because of my fast mana, I totally will, because I love this card. If you would gain life, you gain that much +1, and then she comes on the field as a 4/4 with flying. So really good. I like her. I love her, actually, as a matter of fact. I'm that guy. Yeah, I have a Toxrill the Corrosive in here. Again, another way to keep people in check. Yeah, and sometimes this can totally swing the game because people are pretty much revolving around trying to remove Toxrill off the board. So, yeah, play him at your own risk. We got Veto of the Dusk Rose, you know, because I'm gaining life, so might as well hit everybody else. So I have to have a way to win the game. Sorry. Deep Gnome Terramancer, I love this card, even though, you know, people were super hyped, he was really expensive, and then he plummeted in price. I still think that this card's great. So whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a Plains card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Now, especially with MH3 reprinting all of the fetch lands will become much more popular, and this guy basically reads, anytime somebody fetches for a land, you get a land too. Okay, sounds great. So, I am totally in love with that card. We got Soul's Attendant, another Soul Warden, so again, we're gaining life. The Gaffers, this guy came out in the Lord of the Rings set, and he is amazing. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card. This goes really well with the Soul's Attendant and Soul's Warden, because if I can get these two on the field, and people are playing creatures, if they play at least 2 creatures, and the Gaffer's out, and those are out, I'm drawing a card every turn. It's great. Amazing. If they're making tokens, you know, stuff like that, which so many people make tokens. Rock's Faithmenders doubles the amount of life you gain, so great in this deck. Generally dies very quickly when he hits the field. Archivist of Ogma. So whenever a player searches their library, you gain a life and draw a card. So again, with the fetch lands being more popular, there's a lot of tutors, things like that. This guy is just basically, and it also gains life. So it's kind of like a twofer. I gain life and then I get to draw cards. Love it. Another recent ad, the Ocelot Pride. And if you haven't seen this card, this guy, he was extremely expensive when the set came out. He's dropped. I think I got him for about $15 off of eBay. I imagine that's probably where he's going to kind of stay at. But first strike, lifelink, Ascend, which if you control 10 or more permanents, you'll get as Ascend trigger. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. So this is a way to gain tokens every turn. Because if I can get this out on turn 1, guaranteed I'm at least making 1/1s, right? And then if you have the City's Blessing, for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. So, because I'm making angels, between the Ascension, the other angel triggers, stuff like that, I feel like this guy, this is a recent ad, I literally just added this the other day, but I feel like this guy will be awesome in this deck. I think he'll be quite great. So, really excited to play with this card. Felidar Sovereign, win the game if you afforded more life. So, another win con in the deck. Not really a combo or anything. Sarah's Ascendant. This goes in every lifelink deck. As long as you have 30 or more life, he has a 6/6 with flying and lifelink. Yep. Instant ad. Fucking go get him. Buy him. Draneth Magistrate, because I'm that guy. Stop people from playing their commanders or cascades. And last but not least, Shieldred the Apocalypse. Obviously, this is my proxy one. It's an awesome proxy. I love it. But while a lot of people say it's because of the opponents lose 2 life, I actually like this because I gain 2 life, and especially because I'm going to be drawing additional cards, and I have a lot of triggers between the Resplendent Angel, the Ocelot Pride, stuff like that, trigger off of life gain. That's actually the main reason I have her in the deck, is for the life gain. I feel like anything that gains me life is always a benefit, because then I can turn around and use that life for other things, right? And so that is the deck. So again, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 combos that are 2-card combos, and then 1 3-card combo, and then we have several other mini combos in the deck. So, but that is Oloro. So
gaining life can be a valid strategy in Commander. I feel like a lot of life gain decks, well, they tend to fall a little flat, right? Most of us try to kill each other either in a big burst combo, or very rarely is it fairly through combat. And so, having a deck that kind of outlasts those aggro decks, or outlasts those decks that are trying to slowly whittle you down, can be a big boon. However, I found, at least with a lot of life gain decks, it's pretty hard to win the game without doing some sort of combo or casting certain spells. So, Oloro was kind of my commander for that. I found initially in playtesting and tweaking the deck, and I've had this deck for like now almost 3 years. Yeah, well, 2 years, about 2 years. I did find initially through playtesting that just gaining life was not a way to win the game. You had to use the life to do things to win the game, whether it be through, Command the Dread Horde or whatever it might be. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the card right now. Yeah, so this is a really cool deck. It doesn't win too often. Generally, it's because I'm gaining so much life and I play such threatening cards that, I die. But hey, that's magic, Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deck tech, and check out the other deck techs here on Paint Games and Cardboard, and I'll see you next time.